Hello, my name is Urist Goldbar, and welcome to Dwarf Fortress 101! Today we're going to be covering the basics of military. Since the last video, I assume that all of you have had enough time to whip your dwarven society into a perfect utopia, with over 100 dwarfs and access to adamantine. If not, that's okay, you're just a bit of a late bloomer. Don't you worry, Urist is going to whip you into shape. But by silver, of course we've been attacked by goblins. As they say, 3 things are certain in life: death, the value of gold, and dirty blasted goblins are gonna attack your fortress! Used to say something about taxes in there too, but after the great revolt of bloody trousers, we realised we could go without for a while. At any rate, it turns out the only way that you can defeat a goblin siege is to be prepared in advance, and there's a couple ways we can get prepared. Let's back up to how that's done before we proceed with fighting these little buggers off. Now the first thing you're gonna need is metal. There's a bunch of different metals that you can run into. Hematite, magnetite, and limonite are all minerals that can be smelted into iron. If you can't find one of those minerals, look for native copper, malachite, or tetrahedrite. Those can be smelted into copper, with advanced smelting techniques that we won't get into today. You can also make bronze and steel, from copper or iron respectively. You can also make weapons from adamantine and silver, but those have very special properties. But before we get into the nitty gritty stuff, you're gonna need 2 things: a smelter and a metalsmith's forge. Well, technically you'll need 3 things. You also need a wood furnace, most likely. Depends on what you're doing, you could go without, but that's advanced, pretend I didn't say anything. Build a wood furnace! Your smelter and your wood furnace is going to be under the furnace section of the build menu. That's B, E, and then select whichever one you want to build. Your metalsmith's forge is going to be under workshops, so that's B, W, F. Now, to make your smelter or your forge work, you're going to need fuel. For that, you can make charcoal, and that's why we have the wood furnace. To make your charcoal, select your wood furnace with Q, then tell it A, C, and then R to make it repeat that task indefinitely. Trust me, you'll never want to stop making charcoal. You need it for bloody everything! Once you've got your fuel stored up, you can start to smelt your metals. Use Q to access your smelter, then tell those dwarves to smelt whatever you got. Tell them to do it indefinitely. Never stop smelting! After all, what will the children say about their parents if the smelters ever go cold? Nothing good, I'll tell you that much. Kids today only respect their elders as far as they can throw them. It's just laziness that makes them ungrateful, that's what I say. Speaking of laziness, once you got your metals, you can start manually telling your forge to build everything that you need. If you do that though, you'll have to keep track of the forge. Let's not do that, that's too much work. Let's be lazy, let's be smart. Hit N to bring up the nobles menu, then scroll down to manager. Now, assign some poor, unsuspecting dwarf to be the manager of your fortress. Your manager is going to need 2 things: a place to sit and a table to work on. This can be built from a variety of materials, so choose whatever you feel is the most appropriate. Once you got your table and your chair, set them down someplace, access them with Q, then hit R to select an area that your dwarf is going to own. After that, assign that chair and table to your manager, and you're good to go. Now hit J, then M to get to the job manager, and from here you can assign your dwarfs a plague of chores. You're gonna need a bunch of shields and mail and weapons, so all you have to do now is just type in what you want to forge, pick from the list, and your dwarves will start forging all of it. You get to specify the quantity no less, up to 30 of that thing anyway. So now it's time to start thinking about how you want to arm your dwarfs. First of all, it's important to note that every weapon your dwarfs can manufacture are one-handed. That means you can always have a shield. Second thing is, a mail shirt can be worn beneath plate mail, so build both. As for what weapons to build, now that's a more complex question. Of course every hammer dwarf says the hammer's all you'll need, and a sword dwarf is... well, a sword dwarf, I don't know what's wrong with them. But really, it just depends on what you're trying to do and what you're building your weapons out of. For spears, the best material is adamantine. It's sharp, it's light, it goes deep into the organs. Beautiful. For axes, I personally think that steel is the best way to go. Though some dwarfs will tell you that adamantine is best here as well. Personally, I like steel because it has some heft, so you can smack things with the flat of the axe as well. For swords, what are you doing with swords? You're a dwarf! Get an axe or something! But if you insist on swords, adamantine is pretty good. For maces, those suckers come with spikes on the end, so steel is best to get that swing behind the strike, but you also want to punch a little bit deep into the skin. Hammers, meanwhile, are best built with silver, surprisingly. It's because silver's very dense and very heavy, and dwarven silver will last you a while. Finally, if you're feeling very dwarfish, you can make your army run around with pickaxes. But that's an interesting choice. You see, every weapon functions a little bit differently. Blunt weapons will smash bones and bruise muscles. Sharp weapons will lop off limbs and cause bleeding. Pickaxes, meanwhile, are a bit in the middle of everything. There's no specific best weapon, so it might be best to make a mixed squad. Personally though, I like to have specialists. And on that note, let's compose our squad. Press M to bring up the military menu. As you can see, we've already got a hammer dwarf squad set up, so let's make a spear dwarf squad because their function is polar opposite and I like to breed adversity. Or is it diversity? Whatever, it's all good. Press C to create a new squad. Then select the uniform type for your dwarfs. Crossbow dwarfs belong in leather, and everyone else belongs in metal armor. They'll name themselves, usually something ridiculous after a period of squabbling. Our group here is the Creative Coalition, instantly failing to live up to their own name. Now you just need to fill out their ranks. Start by looking for dwarfs that are doing nothing for society, specifically peasants who have no real skills. Otherwise, look for jobs that are useless to your fortress. Things like soap makers, lye makers, belly achers, time takers, anyone who's not doing anything. You don't need a full squad of 10, but you do need at least 2 dwarfs if you want to do any real training. Once you've got your reluctant military all picked out, it's time to tell them what weapons they should be carrying. Hit E to open up your equipment and it'll show what your squad is carrying around. Right now it's very generic, it just says individual weapon choice. We don't want that, we want them to specialize in spears! When dwarfs get to make individual decisions, they make individually stupid choices! So scroll down to each dwarf and tell them specifically what weapon you want them to have. You can see there's a list of commands at the top of the screen, but to specify weapons, hit capital W. You could be as broad as just to tell the dwarfs to use spears from this menu, but be aware that if there's some kind of master-crafted chicken bone spear, they'll go and grab that thing because it's valuable and beautiful. You never know with some dwarfs. And I've got adamantine spears, which are rare and expensive, and I want to make damn sure my dwarves are using them. Once you got your equipment picked out, it's time to set up a training room for your dwarfs and get them active. Set up a small area, trust me on this, and then build a weapons rack or an armor rack. Or both if you prefer. You can build these out of a variety of materials, but once you've chosen one, lay it down, then use Q to select it, R to expand the area that's going to be used, and then assign it to the squad that's going to be training there. Assign it by highlighting the squad you want to train in this area, and push T. Now you think you'd be done, but actually this will only make the squad congregate there. It's not quite what you want. To make them actually do something with their lazy selves, hit S to bring up the squad menu. Then select the letter assigned to your squad. For us that's B. Now hit T, and your new military unit is on active duty. They'll start training. You'll see the icons change, and that's the sign that they're good to go. But for now, there's only one more thing we have to worry about before we get attacked by goblins. And that thing is everyone else in the fortress. They don't have the sense to stay inside when they get attacked. They'll complain, of course. They don't want to do it, but you've got to set up some kind of drill for your civilians. Find a large enough space that you can comfortably hold all your dwarven population. Press W to get to the barrow menu, then A to make a new barrow. Hit Enter to select where your barrow's gonna be, then just define it as this great big area. Name it something, whatever you feel like. Panic room, I guess. Now hit M to go into the military menu. Hit A to bring up your alerts. Make a new alert with C and name it whatever seems intuitive. I call mine Panic. Now select that new alert and scroll over to the right and choose the barrow that you just made. Now, from now on, whenever you select that alert, your dwarves will all run screaming for the barrow. Then that's where they'll stay, safe and sound, until you give the all clear. Meanwhile, your military dwarfs will stay outside, and you can order them around from the squad menu. Hit S to enter the squad menu, and then you can use whatever orders seem relevant to your task. They can follow orders in real time, so unlike with other menus, don't worry about the game pausing while you're in the squad menu. And that's it! With enough training, you'll have a functional military, and you should be safe from any kind of goblin incursion. Not so much for certain other things, though. But you can't predict everything. Oh, by steel, we've been offered a barony. We're gonna have nobles. Ugh, bring the goblins back, we were better off with them. Oh well, good luck everyone, and remember, you can never dig too deep or too greedily.